Hey guys, what's going on and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today we are going to be looking at patch 2.1.0, the patch notes specifically. Along with this patch, there's going to be a lot of other things added to the game, such as a lot of balance changes, nerfs, new cards, etc., etc. But for now, we are just going to be looking at the patch itself, and I will talk about the balance specifically, is what I'm going to be talking predominantly about, but we'll talk over and take a quick look at all of the other things in this balance patch in general, whatever. First off, Aphelios is coming out. Aphelios Champion Expansion is what this patch is. Our most complex and adaptable champion to date, Aphelios has made his arrival in Legends of Runeterra. The Weapon of the Faithful brings with him a small collection of new cards as part of the Aphelios Champion Expansion. Every region is getting new cards as well, besides just Targon. For a deeper dive into Aphelios' design and mechanics, check out the video, blah blah blah. Praise the moon and get Aphelios as soon as he lands in patch 2.1.0, and get a look at all of the cards coming in the expansion at that link right there. So, first off, because of this, we actually are getting Aphelios for free. At least one copy. Now, I'm not 100% sure here. So, when the Aphelios is released, it seems we're going to have a 7-day login reward for that will be live for a certain amount of time. I assume, because it says at the bottom, it says extra copies will be converted into shards. I assume that means if you wanted to, you could just craft all the cards right away if you wanted with shards and wild cards, which a lot of people do. If you're more, if you don't really want the cards right away, for example, you don't want to waste some rare wild cards or epics or whatever, you can just wait if you're a little tight on resources. But I do like that Aphelios is the day one card, so you're going to get a free copy of Aphelios. I assume it's only one copy, and if you want the other two, you'll have to craft them. But that's nice. So let's see what they say here. Break out the fireworks. It's time for the Lunar Celebration. Log in over 7 days during the Lunar Celebration event period to earn rewards, starting with a free copy of Aphelios. As well as a new Lunar Celebration quest each day for even more rewards. Complete all 7 quests to earn the Year of the Ox card back. Alright. I wonder what else, like, the rewards are going to be. I don't think they said it anywhere what the rewards are. Maybe it's just going to be experience. Maybe it's going to be some prismatic stuff. Some essence, maybe? No idea. Maybe some cosmetics, too, besides the card back. But I don't know. No one knows except for Riot. Next up, we have the actual balance patch itself. Let's see what they say here. The release of Cosmic Creation introduced Zoe, Victor, and Riven into the game. Now that we've had a chance to see them in action, we know Zoe has been making portals and taking names all across Runeterra. Victor and Riven, however, could use a little bit more attention to help them perform their best. Patch 2.1.0 comes with a collection of card updates aimed at giving these champions a chance to shine just a bit brighter, along with some non-champion card updates to improve the overall health of the game. Cool. Like with Victor and Riven in this patch, as we move forward with future card updates, you're going to generally see more attention paid to new released cards to ensure they're performing at an appropriate power level compared to previously released sets. However, that doesn't mean cards like cards from Foundations, Rising Tides, or Call of the Mountain won't see adjustments. This philosophy is specifically in regards to live design and balance, and has been established to ensure that we continue to promote meta health and deck diversity as we continue to add sets and expansions in the future. With that, let's look at what's changing in patch 2.1.0. First off, we have a Misfortune nerf. I love this nerf too. I'm a very big fan of this nerf for 2 reasons. 1, I always felt like Misfortune needed a nerf. And 2, it nerfs her without completely killing the card. She is going to lose her Overwhelm now. Misfortune, when she leveled up, gained Overwhelm. Now she doesn't have Overwhelm when she levels up. I really like that change, as a leveled up Misfortune is not hard to achieve thanks to scouts and things like Relentless Pursuit, but a leveled up Fortune is very game winning because of her ability, basically pinging 3 times, and thanks to the Overwhelm, if you try to block her, she'll still do damage because of Overwhelm. So this is nice because it means a leveled up Misfortune is not a huge jump in power. It is still a big jump in power, but now we can actually block the 4 damage from Misfortune much more cleanly. They say Misfortune's level 2 lethality does not quite line up with the difficulty of her quest. We want to slightly reduce her ability to immediately end the game given she levels up. Pretty much what I just said. Next up, we have Victor himself. Victor is now still the same stats and costs. He's still a 4-mana 2/4. Now he only needs to see... He doesn't have to see it, but now you only have to play 7 created cards instead of 8 created cards. Good small buff. And this is a really big buff to him. I'll be honest with you, I think he still kind of sucks at the card. But now Victor will create a hex score when he is played, instead of just at the round start. That is huge, in all honesty. Victor has a lot of problems, but one of his problems is that he's a very slow card, and it takes him a while. But if you're able to get at least, I'd say, probably 2 activations of hex core upgrade, he's in a decent spot. The other problems with Victor are 1, Hush is a card, and 2, his health pool is kind of small for a 4-drop, in all honesty. As for his level 2 form, it's not really changed, just the hex core thing too as well. They say Victor's build-up is often too slow, like I just said, to have a realistic impact on the game a champion should have. We want to speed it up and also provide more immediate impact and potential for augment allies and Victor himself when deployed later in the game. Well, the only really augment card that sees play is Ballistic Bot. I guess Nandroid sees a little play, though. Next up, though, I think that's it for champions. We got followers, landmarks, and spells. First up, Grand Plaza. Everyone, not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people were calling this nerf exactly line for line. Grand Plaza is now only giving +1/+0 instead of +1/+1. That is a really big change. It doesn't kill the card. The card is still really powerful, but a lot of the time, that health buff would just make it so a lot of damage-based removal was completely negated. Things like Avalanche, Mystic Shot, Withering Wail, Vile Feast. Those cards pretty much sucked against Plaza decks. Now, because you're not getting health, you can actually have to be a little more careful when your opponent is playing removal if you're a Plaza player. What does Riot say here? Grand Plaza has been a positive new tool for mid-range Demacia decks, but its stat distribution on top of Challenger makes it too easy to make profitable challenge trades while adding resiliency. By removing the health buff, we want to allow more wiggle room for counterplay and soften the ability to keep your Plaza units alive after challenging with them. Between this and the Misfortune nerf, I still honestly think Scouts is going to be strong. Scouts has been falling off a little bit recently. Fiora Shen's been getting a little bit more popular, even though it's not that great against things like Draven Ezreal and Zoe Lee Sin. It is good against Scouts, and Fiora Shen's also good against Fizz TF, so we've been seeing more Fiora Shen. So Scouts, I feel, will probably fall a lot in popularity between this and the Misfortune nerf. Still, though, I think this is a good nerf. Plaza always just felt a little too strong for how cheap it was. I'm glad they changed the health so it doesn't give health instead of just making it 4 mana or 5 mana or whatever, because that, in my honest opinion, would just kill the card. So I like the change. It feels good. Feels nice. Next up, I actually don't think this is a buff. I think this is a nerf, in all honesty. War Chefs is getting changed. It is no longer a 1/3, it is now a 2/2. He still does the same stuff of when he supports an ally, it gets +1/+1 for the round. Let's see what they have to say here before I actually give my thoughts too, because I don't understand this change. Originally, when we made this adjustment, we had thought that retaining health was more powerful than attack. We were wrong about that, and given the nature of support units needing the ability to at least trade into more board states, so we're making a small adjustment to War Chefs. I kind of would honestly say they were correct. I'd say having health so your support unit doesn't just die is better, but we'll have to see. I don't think this is the card to make Lulu good. I think Lulu is still just a bad card, and I don't think Demacia decks in general will go back to playing War Chef. If you don't remember, before War Chefs was a 1/3, it was also a 2/3, and now it's where it is as a 2/2. As a 2/3, it was played a lot because a 2/3 for 2 is solid stats. So who knows? It's almost unnerfed. It's almost back to 2-3, but that 1 point of health, let's see how big it is of a change. I don't think it'll see play anymore. But it might. It might. I could see it honestly seeing play in a Lulu deck as a 1-drop. Turn 1 like Flower Child or whatever the 0-2 is that gets +2 when you support it into War Chefs. It's still a decent opener. Next up, Homecoming buff. I don't think this card is good even with the buff, but it's nice to see that they're giving Ionia some buffs. Homecoming is now 4 mana instead of 5 mana. Not much to talk about there, just nice and cheap. The problem with Homecoming is it's just too... It was too expensive. It's still a little expensive, but it's nice. It's 4 mana. 4 mana is not that expensive, while 5 mana is usually a big jump in mana, as evidenced by things like Will of Ionia going from some play to no play when it jumped from 4 to 5. But the other problem with Homecoming is you need an ally to recall, because if you don't have anything to recall, you can't actually cast this card. And second, if they kill what you're trying to recall, your allied unit or landmark that you're trying to recall, it completely negates the spell. So like, let's say you're trying to recall your unit to recall their unit, and they use like a single combat or a vengeance and kill your unit. That completely fizzles out the Homecoming and it doesn't go off. Unless that's a bug and they've changed it or whatever, but no one really plays Homecoming, so whatever. But I'm pretty sure it works that way still, and it's working as intended. They say, we want to add some power to Ionia's identity as the only region that can recall enemies. This adjustment should provide some more texture and potential for the usable spells within Ionia. I think we just need more buffs for Ionia. And we got another one here. We got Greenglade Elder. I don't think this buff is a good one, but it helps out aggro, I guess. Like elusive aggro, Ionia aggro. Greenglade Elder is now a 3 mana 3/1 instead of a 3 mana 1/1. That is actually a big jump in stats. I still don't think it's a good enough card. But now it's an actual threat on the board instead of just a 1/1 that does nothing. But I always felt like you wanted to bounce Greenglade Elder back to your hand with the I can't remember the name of the card, the 2 mana 2/2 elusive that to play it got to bounce something back to your hand, recall something back to your hand, and then you would play this again over and over and over. So I don't know. It's like it'll trade and it can put pressure on, but again, 1 health is also bad, as evidenced by things like River Shaper and Mountain Goat before their buffs. They didn't really see too much play before they got buffed into what they are today. And I don't think you're going to play like a Monastery of Harana to call this back and then play the Elder because it's really slow. So I don't think this buff is going to do anything for Greenglade Elder. It is nice. It's a lot of stats, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Let's see what they have to say here, though. Like with Homecoming, we wanted to make a few small changes directed at improving some of Ionia's core mechanics. The Elder's stats made it impossible to be feasible, so this adjustment should provide hand buffing decks a bit more board presence and potential while setting up. I feel like the problem with hand buffing is twofold. 1, there's not much payoff really to buff up cards in your hand, and 2, it's slow. And if you're gonna be slow, it's best to play like Lee Sin or Aurelion Soul or even just Karma instead, in all honesty. So I don't think this is going to be good enough, but who knows? Maybe in the future when we get more hand buff payoff and synergy, this card will see play. But for now, I don't think it will be played. Next up, Captain Farron is getting nerfed. A very fair nerf, very well deserved too. Captain Farron is now only going to create 2 decimates instead of 3 decimates when he's summoned. Honestly, it's a nice change. It doesn't kill the card, because if you needed to play that 3rd decimate, you are probably in a bad spot. The 3rd decimate usually just became discard fodder anyway to things like Rummage or Zonite Urchin or Sump Dredger or Sump whatever, the 3 mana 4/3 guy. So that's nice, but I think this is the only nerf for Ezreal Draven. So Ezreal Draven is still, in my opinion, a very strong deck. So it's a nice nerf, because you still have to actually deal with the Captain Fairy himself. He's still an 8 mana 8/8 with Overwhelm. That is really, really big. The text that they have put here says, I don't know why I said it like that, but Riot has said the direct damage output provided by Captain Farron can be overbearing in many games, and can also prevent certain region combinations from effectively executing a slower game plan. We're providing more breathing room while playing against Farron while keeping his shape intact. I feel like the deck that's affected more by this nerf than Ezreal Draven is probably Burn decks. Burn decks would sometimes play a 1 of Captain Farron or a 2 of Captain Farron as their very top end. I guess Ashe Noxus as well, like Ashe Sejuani, Ashe Riven also are getting hurt by this too. So I don't know, because those decks also used to play a 1 of to 2 of Farron's. So it probably hurts those decks more than Ezreal Draven. Anyway though, next card, I think this is a big buff. Blade of the Exile, 1 mana now instead of 3 mana. Let's see what they say real quick. Blade of the Exile is a bit too clunky to be used effectively, and is often not used at all in games when it's created. I'm surprised they kept track of that, in all honesty. But that is true. A lot of the time I would create a Blade of the Exile, and I would never cast it because it was just a whole 3 mana, and I was like, that's way too much mana. We generally only change spell speeds in emergencies, so we're reducing the cost by 2 to provide payoff for turbo, creating it early in the game and for general ease of use. This is really scary, in all honesty. A 1 mana slow spell, sure, but a 1 mana spell that gives +2/+0, overwhelm, and quick attack permanently is terrifying. Now, you will probably not have Blade of the Exile around until turn 5 or 6 at the earliest. You could probably, again, like, turbo it out on turn, like, 1 or 2, or not 1, like 3 maybe at the earliest. I think you could technically bring it out on turn... Yeah, you could bring it out on turn 3 at the earliest. I don't think you can turbo out a Blade of the Exile on 2. You can get a Blade of the Exile on turn 3. I don't know if you would have enough mana to play it. But yeah, I don't know about this card. I think it's a little too strong now. Oh, it's a little scary. I think this is needed though, because I don't think Draven got a nerf. And Draven compared to Riven always felt bad. It's like, why would you ever play Riven when Draven exists? And the reason you would play Riven over Draven is because of the fragments and the Blade of the Exile. And I guess the +1 health that Riven has over Draven. But Draven had quick attack, so whatever. Also, Draven created the axe on summon on play, while Riven had to wait for the round start to get her first fragment. So, pretty much the only reason to play Riven over Draven is you care about the Blade, and almost no decks really cared about the Blade that were playing Riven. This helps out a lot, though. This helps out, like, Riven Swain and Riven Lee Sin. So we might see those decks come back a little bit as well. No idea, though. This buff I really like. I'm calling this a buff, even though it's just a stat flip, a stat change, stat reallocation, whatever you want to call it. Blade Squire is now a 1 mana 2/1 instead of a 1 mana 1/2. This is huge. If you have ever played Blade Squire and played Riven in general, and you would play Blade Squire, your opponent will never block Blade Squire unless it's about to kill them. Because even if they get a favorable trade, they won't block it because, well, 1, you might be playing combat tricks, but 2, and more importantly, is they don't want to give you the Reforge for free. Now that Blade Squire is a 1 mana 2/1, it dies much easier, which is what you want this guy to do. You want him to die similar to Avarosan Sentry. Like, you can compare this guy to Avarosan Sentry now. He's like a 1 mana 2/1 Avarosan Sentry. Sure, he's not Avarosan Sentry, but you get what I'm saying. A 2/1 in the early game actually puts on a lot of pressure. It blocks really well, as evidenced by Dredgers, the 1 mana 1/1 in Bilgewater that tosses 3. That card used to be a 1 mana 2/1 until they nerfed it to a 1 mana 1/1. Because it just blocked so well and it put on so much pressure in the early game. So I feel like Blade Squire getting this buff is really huge. Let's see what they have to say here. One of Riven's weaknesses is having to dilute your deck with her followers, which are generally weaker than other options. For Blade Squire, we want to flatly increase its viability with a better stat line to give Riven decks a boost, and the card itself more satisfying play patterns. I like it. Next up, we have Hush, a card everyone hates and complains about, but everyone still plays because the card is so good. Not much to talk about here. It was 2 mana, now it's 3 mana. I think this is the 3rd time it's getting changed. I actually have lost track of how many times Hush has been changed. I think it used to be like a 2 mana card or was it a 3-mana card that you would play, and then you'd get a fleeting copy of it, and then they made it so the fleeting copies costed 1 extra for every fleeting copy, and now and then it became 2 mana and into what it is today, and then it's now 3 mana, so it's been changed 3 times. Honestly, might be a record for a card, unless you count like beta stuff, of course, like closed beta stuff. Let's see what they have to say here about Hush, though. Hush ultimately counteracts too many strategies, oftentimes doing it in a super efficient way. While we've wanted to avoid over-nerfing it in the past, the overall play rate and amount of strategies it's defanged, especially the champions from the Cosmic Creations expansion, Victor, make it clear that a flat nerf is warranted. Yeah, like they didn't even give it anything like special, like give it a tune or anything. So, but I feel it's very well deserved. This card has been annoying and just so good. It does make me a little worried because turn 1 Fizz and Zoe, like early Zoes and Fizzes, and I guess to a lesser extent Teemo, are now even harder to deal with unless you say like you want to play Demacia for Sharp Sight. But now it's going to be tough to deal with those kind of cards. Tougher. Because you're probably not going to play all 3 Hushes anymore, because this is a lot of mana. One of the reasons you would play 3 Hushes is 1, it was a good card, and 2, it was cheap. I feel like more, this hurts aggro and mid-range more than control. Control might still play 3 of them because this card's still good. But aggressive decks that are like, I don't know, Zoe Draven and Zoe Diana. Zoe Diana's not aggro, sorry. But just aggro decks in general, like maybe Nightfall aggro. Like Nightfall doesn't play it too much, but sometimes they like to play it as a 1 or 2 of. Might just cut it because it's really expensive now for an aggro or even a quick mid-range deck, really. Next up, though, another Targon nerf. Targon's been really good, so it's very well deserved. Pale Cascade now is only giving +1/+1 instead of +2/+1. That's the only change. It still draws a card. Let me just say I feel very vindicated here. I think that's the word I'm thinking of here. I'm correct. I was right. When I first saw this card, I was saying this card is going to get nerfed. And it has been nerfed, so I'm happy that I was right. But I also am a little unhappy because I love this card. You will still play this card, though. Drawing a card is the main part of this card, so it's really nice. Sure, it hurts decks, so they won't be able to trade up as well, but you'll still probably play this card to draw and cycle through your deck, so it's still nice. While there are strong burst spells at similar cost, Pale Cascade provides all Targon decks efficient combat superiority and protection without much of the opportunity cost, given its built-in card draw. By reducing the overall damage, we're removing some of the potential to create better trades or push damage. We might actually see people play other things in the early game for like early cheap spells besides Hush and Pale Cascade now. I think I'll still play at least 2 Pale Cascades in my Targon decks and maybe even 3 because it's just so efficient, especially on quick attack units. But as for Hush, I'll probably go down to 2, maybe even 1. Depending on the deck, of course. And that's it for card changes and card nerfs and buffs. Another lab is coming up too. This lab is what? Lab of Legends. After countless hours of experimentation, Heimerdinger is finally ready to unveil his latest and greatest achievement, introducing the appropriately named Lab of Legends. Our first Legends lab, and another foray into the world of single-player adventures. I love the single-player labs. First introduced in our 2021 roadmap, Legend Labs are experiences that focus on progression, customization, and adaptation. Okay. Building off of those themes, Lab of Legends gives you a choice between 8 different champions, each with their own pre-made deck, and pits you against a series of increasingly difficult encounters. As you progress, you'll earn new cards, passive abilities, and items that power up cards in unique ways. No 2 runs are the same. Expect to see some crazy combo possibilities emerge as you reach later stages. Don't be reckless though, your Nexus health carries over between rounds and is only refilled after a boss encounter, so be sure to pace yourself. Emerge victorious at the end and you'll earn a unique icon based on your selected champion. Fight hard, experiment responsibly, and try to collect them all. This sounds fun. This is like a roguelite kind of Slay the Spire smile. I like Slay the Spire, so I'm happy to see this. So that's really nice. I really like this. I'm going to play a lot of this lab, so that's nice. And then, you know, the classic, just more cosmetic stuff. New board for the Lunar Celebration. Really nice looking board. I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep my KDA board. Also a new Guardian. This Lunar Beast here, I have no idea what he's doing here. Also here in the top right over here on this picture of the board, I'm pretty sure that's another Guardian. We have this in-game already, but not with this color scheme. So I'm looking at this and thinking to ourselves, is it time for another battle pass, season pass, whatever you want to call it? And this will be one of the Guardians we can get, because it looks pretty nice. Also, new card backs. I'm pretty sure this is a Felios. I like this card back. Got the Misfortune card back. Very cute. A lot of people are going to be buying this, I assume. Everyone loves Misfortune. All the guys love Misfortune. And then you got this. You got weird smug lunar beast that, like, this is extra smug. Look at how smug. Look at that eye. Look at that. Look at that. It's like just looking down at you thinking how pathetic you are. I love it. I'm probably still going to keep using my KDA card backs, but I like this card back. New emotes as well, of course, because gotta always have new emotes. So, we don't know what they look like animated. We'll have to probably wait for when the patch comes out. But some of them probably will look good. Like this Aphelios one probably looks good. And then a new bundle with this. Seems nice. Oh, the that T-Hex is only from this, not from a season pass. Okay, so that's how you get the T-Hex. So that's good to know. So maybe it's not a season pass then, or a battle pass or whatever. And then we also have a deck bundle, as is tradition whenever there's like a new champion or something, or a new set. It looks like it's a Felios Nocturne. I don't think a Felios Nocturne is going to be a good deck, but it's nice. Just to put it out there for people who want to get into the game right away and just buy a deck and play right away. And then we have a bunch of Expedition changes. I'm not really going to go over these because I don't really play Expedition, but lots of Expedition changes, so it's nice if you play Expedition changes. But let's look at this real quick before, instead of looking at the actual changes. Cards from the Aphelios expansion have been added to various archetypes, and Aphelios himself has been added to Luminous Dusk as an alternate Targon champ alongside Diana. Luminous Dusk will be 4 times as likely to show up in the initial champion picks. This chance will be reduced again in the future patch, like it always is. So that's it. Some bug fixes as well, miscellaneous. Let's see, on Android devices, the back button can be used to navigate the app. I don't play on Android devices, but some of the people who watch me do, and they've told me how they're really happy to see this, so that's nice for them. And now there's a toggle to prevent people or allow people from spectating your game, so that's nice too. Now, is the silence issue fixed? That's the big one. If you don't know what the silence bug is, if you silence something and then try to silence again after they play a buff on the card, the second silence will not go through. So let's see, fix the crash, blah, 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 fix the crash. Fixed an issue where the dancer card back, not important. Fix the bug that would sometimes prevent a unit from being silenced a second time in the same round. That is so nice to read. I had that happen to me earlier today on stream where I tried to hush something twice, the same card twice, because I thought the bug was fixed, but it wasn't. So, you know, that's kind of nice to see. Fixed an issue where sometimes Lulu's supported unit would not be fully buffed. I didn't even know that was an issue. Because no one plays Lulu, sadly. Anyway, though, that is it for the patch today, for patch 2.1.0. I believe that's the patch. It sounds good. I like the patch. I'm a very big fan of the cards they changed. There's a couple of cards I wish they would have buffed, like Karma, but that's because I like Karma a lot, and I love Karma decks, but they didn't, so whatever. But yeah, that's it. I hope you have fun playing Aphelios and all the new cards, and I hope to see you all again. Hope you enjoyed the video. If there's anything you think that they missed with the balance patch and you think should be nerfed or buffed or whatever, I would love to hear your opinion down in the comments below, of course. If you just enjoyed the video in general, of course, you could leave a like or a comment down below as well. And if you want to keep up with the Runeterra content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to catch me playing some Legends of Runeterra, I stream over at my Twitch account at twitch.tv/Zeneton pretty much every single day. Playing a lot of different decks. It's always a fun time there. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!